I'm Elizabeth Ray.
I'm Alistair Stevens.
And Tom Cruise is Jack Reacher in Jack Reacher, Never Go Back.
I mentioned at the end of last week's show that the cast alone of Jack Reacher Never Go Back suggests that this is the closest that Cruise will ever get to television.
Yeah.
And not just any kind of TV. We're not talking prestige TV here. We are talking 8 o'clock on a Friday network-ass television. This is a procedural movie dressed up as a feature film.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch those shows? You ever watch a CSI or an NCIS or a... I don't know, all of those, right?
Yeah, basically no. So my sister watched Criminal Minds, so I've seen a couple of those episodes. She really liked the skinny kid because she likes those skinny, wiry guys with weird noses. Sure. So I don't know. She was super into that. And my dad liked Mandy Patinkin. So my family watched Numbers back in the day for a little while.
I'd forgotten about Numbers.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of Numbers.
Numbers was kind of cool.
David Krumholtz and Judd Hirsch and Rob Morrow.
And yes, exactly.
Sabrina Lloyd in that show for a little while,
for a little
too.
bit, yeah. And then Diane Farr.
Sure.
And a haircut I was always trying to mimic, but never could quite get right.
Numbers was pretty solid.
Yeah.
Numb 3 years.
And then Numb 3 years, exactly. And then I watched a little tiny bit of Castle with my grandma because she thought that Nathan Fillion was very cute.
And was right.
And was right.
The world can confirm. Yes,
yeah.
Nathan Fillion, quite a cutie patootie, it turns out.
Yes. But other than that, no. Procedurals and those kinds of serial dramas are not for me. Specifically the ones like... Law and Order SVU, or just like where every single week is someone was horribly brutalized and assaulted and raped, and I'm like, nope.
The
I don't want to
closer
watch this.
we get to, I was going to say actual jurisprudence, but the fact is this: I've spent a little bit of time this week being kind of mad at those kind of procedurals specifically, at your Laws and Orders, at your CSIs, anything that is like very cop oriented and is supposed to normalize the kind of investigations and the kind of pursuit of justice that you see in a 44-minute TV network drama. I think those things are maybe bad. I think those things are maybe kind of toxic for society at large.
For society, maybe bad. Yeah, but you have to say too, like everyone's been so into like the true crime podcasts and things, and I can't get behind those either. And there must be something, because obviously these are like some of the most popular, pieces of entertainment out there in the world right now, but they just don't do anything for me.
I think there's a pretty well understood psychological phenomenon that the more unsettled we are socially speaking, the more people turn to these kinds of narratives in order to kind of assert a sense of justice and stability, right? A sense of right and wrong, a sense that actually bad people are punished and good people rewarded. Which, as Oscar Wilde said, that's what fiction is for.
Right.
In some sense, we are kind of enforcing the lines of our society through that approach. And I can see that being reflected in true crime, but there's also that salacious aspect of true crime.
That's the part where it feels like almost gossipy and is strange. Yeah.
It was always the thing that attracted me to Numbers. And I'll also mention Peter McNichol was on Numbers and was really good in that show.
That's right. We liked him.
Is that the best cast in television?
Yeah,
that's
that was a great cast,
now
for
that I think about it.
And that great Craftsman house too, remember?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah. No, the thing that attracted me to Numbers is the thing that attracted me to, hey, look at us circling back to the topic of today's podcast. Aldis Hodge's show, Leverage.
Yes.
Is that these are mysteries, yes, but they're not generally oriented around, justice in this very stentorian sense, particularly not in this corrective, socially conservative sense that you get so often from things like CSI, from things like NCIS, which prides itself weirdly on being ultra conservative, like normalizing these very conservative social structures, even while apparently playing in those spaces in a way that I don't find terribly rewarding. So I guess the side of this that I like is the Agatha Christie, Jonathan
Murder, She Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote to a certain extent. Yes. Anything that has like a sheriff in it. A sheriff is about as far as I can go in terms of like law and order.
Different.
Do you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
Like a Longmire,
Sure. Oh, I really wanted to love Longmire. There was so much that was good about it, but boy, by the end, I was just yelling at the TV screen.
You were in a bad relationship with that show for a while.
I was mad at that show. It's true.
So how does Jack Reacher Never Go Back fit for you in that kind? Because I've just asserted that this is true, right?
But
this
you're
feels
right.
like an episode of a network drama.
I wouldn't even say an episode. It feels like a season.
Oh, okay.
Like they just like dragged the whole thing out. But it feels like the main character arc of a season without any of the C&D plots.
You know what it is? It's the pilot episode. It's the feature-length pilot episode that's starting a new franchise. We even get him hitchhiking on to his next quest, at the end of the movie.
Wow.
And I could totally see that then spinning out into, 24 episodes a season, just real middle of the road CBS drama right there.
Totally. Ugh. Sorry. Spoilers to how I feel about this movie, I guess. It's fine.
I wish that
it's
I could rise to the level of
fine.
Honestly, I don't know that I have an opinion that's strong about
fine.
it. Despite liking...
I wouldn't want to see a whole season of it. That's what I guess. You know, this film was long enough.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not honestly the disaster that I think was advertised.
No, I have a note that it's like I'm surprised that the reason that this movie, you know, is so derided is just because it's boring. Like, that's it. It's just boring.
We could just observe the formality. We could just put it on the list right now and, I don't know, go out for lunch. What do you think? We can keep the recorders going.
Keep the recording going. Just chat. I love it.
You know, speaking of TV, despite the fact that this is loaded with TV actors and a real TV sense of style, too, there is only one significant actor in this entire film. And by significant actor, I mean, of course, someone who has crossed over with Grey's Anatomy. Only one Grey's alum in this entire film. And it's time for America's favorite game show. I swear I know that face. From Seattle, Grace. Elizabeth, are you ready? Actually, there's an asterisk here because I should note that Anthony Molinari, who plays a character called Buzzcut in this film, actually appeared as a police officer in an episode of the 4th season of Station 19. Close.
Whoa.
But no cigar.
But no cigar.
That's a real B-tier Grey's engagement right there. So Jessica Stroup, who plays Lieutenant Sullivan, who is Jack's lawyer when he gets arrested at the beginning of the film. She's not good.
Sorry.
But she is in Grey's.
Sure.
Did you recognize her? I can give you some clues to kind of lead you toward there if it would help.
Yeah. Give me some clues. I did not recognize her besides thinking, why don't I recognize this woman? Probably because she's not good.
Well, she is in an episode entitled Great Expectations. It is the episode right after George O'Malley's dad dies. Does that help you at all?
Maybe
the title
a little bit.
is kind of a pun. She shows up at the hospital with her friend who is very protective of her because they ran away from home together.
For Rumspringa, because they're both Amish.
You got it.
Yes.
That's exactly it.
Okay. I do remember that a little bit.
She is the daughter of Amish parents who show up at the hospital in a fairly, as I recall, a fairly touching moment.
I feel like yes, actually, because one of them ends up actually going back, if not both of them.
She ends up going back. No, the other one can't because she wasn't baptized when she left. So she literally cannot go back in. Wow. And there's this touching moment at the end where the girl's Amish mom breaks convention and addresses this other young woman who has been the friend.
Who's been shunned.
And says, I will tell your mother that you have grown into a fine young woman. Just a really nice moment, I think.
That is really nice.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Izzy or somebody is hanging outside the room listening on their conversation.
Probably.
And that's our show. I swear I know that face. From Seattle, Grace. Let's get into the trailer game, shall we?
Oh, this is when you or me.
Me.
Oh, thank God.
Jack Reacher is back, and this time he's facing his most dangerous challenge to date, a teenage girl. Luckily, a few friends from Primetime TV have stopped by to help him figure out how to be a dad. Or not be a dad, depending on the final twist of this film. In a series of hilarious misadventures and a plot that has to be seen to be believed, and maybe not even then, Jack Reacher is going to go from DC to New Orleans as he tries to figure out how to... There's weapons? There's something with weapons and drugs. You'll see, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is that Jack's back. In Jack Reacher, never go back. This is what happens when you don't hire Christopher McQuarrie. So the first Jack Reacher movie is released in December of 2012, and it's a relatively slow burn at the box office. It makes it past 200 million, only thanks to a strong international showing. But, you know, that's one of the reasons that we talk about Tom Cruise here on The Last Star in Hollywood. Sure. He's one of the only actors in the 21st century with a genuinely global profile. It still takes a full year, however, before Paramount announces development on a sequel based on the Lee Child novel Never Go Back, the 18th Jack Reacher novel, or the 20th if you go by the series' internal chronology.
Dang.
Plans are so soft at that point that it takes another 5 months for the studio to announce Tom Cruise is also coming back. We're definitely making a Jack Reacher sequel. Oh, also, it will star the same actor as the first one. It then takes another full year from the Tom Cruise announcement to announce that Edward Zwick is going to direct. We talked a lot about Zwick on our episode on The Last Samurai. Since that film, he directed Blood Diamond, the very well-received drama starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Jimon Hansu that earned both of them acting nominations at the Academy Awards. He then directs Defiance, a World War II drama starring Daniel Craig and Liev Schreiber, and the response to that film is cooler. There's specific criticism of his direction, which is seen as being simultaneously heavy-handed but also afraid to commit, which feels familiar at this point, I think, having just watched Never Go Back. In 2010, Zwick directs Jake Gyllenhaal, Anne Hathaway, and Oliver Platt in a movie that is still somehow very bad, Love and Other Drugs. You've seen Love and Other Drugs, or at least the first act of Love and Other Drugs,
No, I've seen it. Interesting production design there, too. That apartment's really cool.
It's a really cool apartment. It's singularly charmless performances from three people who, Gyllenhaal less than Platt and Hathaway, but I mean, they're generally pretty reliable.
Yeah.
And it's a film with no heart at all.
No heart.
It's
You're
really
so right. Maybe
weird.
Even a bad heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His reputation slipping, Zwick then directs a biopic of chess grandmaster Bobby Fischer called Pawn Sacrifice. That's Tobey Maguire and Peter Sarsgaard and Liev Schreiber again, in fact. But despite reasonable reviews of Maguire's performance, the film takes a bit of a critical hit and makes back only a quarter of its $20 million budget. Interestingly, Zwick gets hired for Jack Reacher between the premiere of Pawn Sacrifice at TIFF in 2014 and the general release of the film in 2015, which means that he's hired onto this film, but there's already a sense from the festival circuit that the movie might not be a huge hit, which makes this Tom Cruise movie, coming off the back of a successful franchise starter that made almost 4 times its budget, a weirdly conservative safety play, which really makes the film make sense, I think. This is a film in which nobody is taking a risk.
Yeah, definitely. No neck stuck out.
And that extends absolutely, I think, to the casting, despite the fact that I kind of like this cast.
You know, I was really impressed with Kobe Smulders. I like what she did in this. And I know that you told me yesterday that they were, what, a 20-year age gap? Which is
actually 20 years. Yeah, Cruise is 53
insane.
in this film, and Kobe Smulders is 33 when she shoots this movie.
That's wild. But they don't look it. They seem like a probable, people who could go on a date, at least.
That's the thing about her, is that I think she has just always seemed like a grown-up.
I
surrounded
agree.
by children, especially on the cast of How I Met Your Mother.
Especially on How I Met Your Mother, yeah.
Where
agreed.
she's just, she feels like she's in a slightly different tier, despite the fact that, again, I like that cast a lot, too, with the exception of, one part of that cast, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Kobe Smulders is born in 1982 in Vancouver. She works as a model as a teenager, then gets caught up in the mid-budget genre TV industry for which Vancouver is so famous. She works on True Calling and Smallville and Andromeda, and she gets a couple roles in movies and is then cast as Robin for 108 episodes of How I Met Your Mother. 108 episodes of that show. If you had asked me, I would have said double that.
I think so too. Yeah, it did seem to go on forever, but I think it's only 5, 6 seasons.
I guess 6. Yeah,
maybe 6.
I never really watched How I Met Your Mother. I have seen maybe 10 episodes of the entire run of that show.
I watched a lot of it.
Ted so reprehensible. I find that performance so bad.
Yeah,
that I like everything else about that show.
Yeah,
and it's not enough to get me past him, unfortunately.
The long-running joke of Slap Bet was one of the best things I've ever seen. But beyond that,
often cited that as one of your favorite things that happens on television.
Really excellent long-running joke. But
the ages of that cast too, looking into Kobe Smulders' ages, they're crazy. Neil Patrick Harris was born in 1973. Radner and Alison Hannigan are both born in 1974. Jason Segel's born in 1980, so there's a 6-year gap between him and Alison Hannigan. Kobe Smulders is born in 1982, and Kristen Milotti, the eponymous mother, is born in 1985.
Wow.
Which means there's a 12-year age gap between her and Josh Radnor.
That sounds correct, unfortunately.
Weird though, right?
Yeah, weird. Yeah. Yes.
From there, Smulders is, of course, cast as Maria Hill in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and is, I think, generally pretty great in that role.
Sure,
she's never really given anything to do.
That's exactly right, yeah.
But as a person who gets to stand next to Samuel L. Jackson a lot, pretty great, I think.
Yeah.
And really does give authority. You can see how that role gets her this role.
Yes.
In like a pretty straight
Definitely.
line.
Yeah.
She's also, interestingly, the first person to ever voice or perform Wonder Woman in a theatrical movie because she voiced the character in the 2014 Lego movie.
Whoa.
That's the first time that Wonder Woman had ever been in a film with a theatrical release.
Wild.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Yeah, cool.
She plays the young version of Jessica Walter in the 2019 season of Arrested Development that you, I, and everyone else has forgotten existed. She also apparently cameoed in the last episode of How I Met Your Father in 2022.
Right.
In other news, do you remember that How I Met Your Father was a show?
I just now did, but yes. With Hilary Duff?
Hilary Duff. Chris
we
Lowell.
We love Hilary Duff.
We love Chris Lowell.
We love him too. Yes.
There's a lot to like about that.
We tried
to
watch it. We did. Yeah.
But we and America had no interest. That show lasted 30 episodes.
And we're just over the laugh track type shows. I think that's just, we just can't do it anymore. Yeah.
It is also worth noting, and this is, I think, infinitely to her credit, that Kobe Smulders trained in martial arts for 8 weeks before starting principal photography on this film, and then did all of her own stunts.
That's baller. Respect.
Kind of cool.
That's cool.
Right? Kind of tough.
Yeah.
You know, we were just having this conversation about Rebecca Ferguson in Mission Impossible.
Mm-hmm.
This is another example of a woman who is kind of sexually objectified, but it also seems to be in praise of her musculature. I think that she is kind of buff in this movie and isn't ever really feminized. We'll talk about the scene that she spends in her bra for no good reason. In just a little bit, I think. First, though, we have to talk about Aldis Hodge, who was born in 1986 in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And if you are coming into this thinking that you like Aldis Hodge, be prepared to upgrade your opinion still further, because he is a Renaissance man. As a child, he learned to play clarinet and violin. He still plays violin to this day. He is a dedicated writer and painter. He collaborated with painter Harmonio Rosales in 2018 for an exhibition in LA. The link to that will be in the show notes. Go click that link and take a look at it, because it is really interesting stuff. He is, in addition to all of that, a self-trained horologist and watchmaker. And after studying at the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, he spends 2 years in a recurring role on Sesame Street before he even starts acting in movies.
That's amazing. Wow, what a man. What a guy.
He campaigns publicly for more racial and ethnic diversity in the watchmaking industry. Because it is so close to his heart, and he thinks it's so important. His first movie role, Die Hard with a Vengeance, the third Die Hard movie, the return to that series of the original director, John McTiernan. He is then in every single TV show of the early 2000s, including Judging Amy and CSI and Boston Public and Charmed and ER and Cold Case, the aforementioned Numbers. He's in an episode of Bones. He's amazing in Friday Night Lights.
He is amazing in Friday Night Lights, yeah. And I remember him from Supernatural.
He's so great in Supernatural. He does 2 episodes there. Then he's cast...
Only 2 episodes?
Only 2,
He's so memorable.
But puts a footprint on that show, doesn't he? Yeah. And then he's cast as Alec Hardison in the excellent ensemble for Leverage, which is, again, another really, really great ensemble cast.
Cool.
How do you like Aldis Hodge?
I like him so much. No, I'm so glad you told me all that stuff about him. But he's just magnetic on screen. I haven't seen him do a lot of variety, really, in the couple of things that I've seen, but I haven't seen most of what you just listed. So, but you said in Leverage he has quite a lot to do, right?
What's crazy in Leverage, I had seen him in Leverage, well, probably not first, but I was struck by him first in Leverage, and he is so twinkly in that show. It is a real, like, early Will Smith, kind of Eddie Murphy, kind of fast-talking hip guy who can get himself into anywhere and out of anywhere. He's also the computer nerd, which is really great on that team. He's fantastic and just really arresting. And that is a strict counterpoint to many of his performances where he is still and silent and brooding.
That's what I'm used to, I think.
And like a real physical presence. And that is, just remarkable. I don't know that he's infinitely flexible as an actor, but he can do at least 2 things really well.
That's awesome.
And I'd love to see him continue to work. He was cast in the reboot, the continuation, the Legacy sequel of Leverage that they made, which I still haven't seen. It is the original cast minus Timothy Hutton, which means that it's better than the original cast. I kind of want to go back and watch it, but some fine day I will have the excuse. The year before Jack Reacher, we should note, he appears in Straight Outta Compton, which really lifts his stock. And then the same year as Jack Reacher, he's in Hidden Figures, the story of the African-American women whose work was so absolutely necessary to the success of NASA in the 1960s, which is such a great movie. I cannot recommend Hidden Figures enough. It is wall-to-wall fantastic character actors. It is absolutely sumptuous 1960s set design, but it's not cartoonish. They don't ever slip into, the kind of slightly Mad Men version of it, right? Where it's just a bit cooler and a bit fancier than you would really buy in that period. It's a film with such a heart that will make you, proud of NASA and also weep for our nation at the same time. It's really, really great. Yeah. The other actor that I want to call out in the cast of this film is Robert Knepper, who I mentioned in the trailer game there, one of the all-time great TV villains. Born in 1959, so he is only 3 years older than Tom Cruise.
Okay.
He's born in Fremont, Ohio. He studies at Northwestern. Then he moves to New York to pursue a career in theater. He does not care about film or television, which is presumably why he ends up there in the early 90s. He is cast in HBO's Carnival and in Prison Break, which simultaneously charge his career and leaves him a little typecast. He's the late era bad guy in NBC's Heroes.
Sure, yes,
He's kind of interesting in that show. He's in Stargate Universe, a show that I really like. He's in Criminal Minds. He's absolutely brilliant in the 3rd season of Twin Peaks as Rodney Mitchum. Just a fantastic bravura performance there. Always interesting on screen, I think, if, ultimately a little typecast. I should note that in 2017, Knepper was accused of sexual assault by a crew member on a 1991 movie called Gas, Food, Lodging. This was followed by 4 additional allegations and 2 separate investigations into his behavior on the set of the CW show iZombie. All of those cases were settled or dismissed. But I think that allegations have weight too.
Yep.
And we'll just consider that as we move through this film. We're not really going to have an opportunity to talk about Robert Knepper. I kind of sketched out the plan to talk about him here in the intro before I watched the film. So I didn't know that he's in 3 scenes. His entire screen time comes to 45 seconds.
Yeah, there's not much there at all.
Such a waste of him in this film. Zwick begins working on the script with his longtime partner Marshall Herskovitz and writer-for-hire Richard Wenk, who was very hot at the time for writing these muscular action movies for people like Jason Statham. Wenk also wrote a movie called Fast Charlie, which was released just last year, which stars Pierce Brosnan, Morena Baccarin, and in his last filmed performance, James Caan.
Wow.
So that might be worth checking out. That's a bunch of actors that I'm very fond of. The movie shoots between October 2015 and January 2016 in Louisiana. That's 3 months after the release of Rogue Nation. The cinematographer, believe it or not, is called Oliver Wood. He's born in England. He has a fantastic career, including weirdly shooting sequels for some really popular... Sorry, do you want to give that for the audience at home?
Sure. The Quidditch captain, Oliver Wood.
The Quidditch captain, Oliver Wood. Yeah, he also makes films, I guess, in his spare time. It's so weird that he spent so much of his career shooting sequels for films that nobody really remembers, and certainly films which don't really demand a sequel. He shot Die Hard 2, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit, Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed, and Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues.
He's like only does sequels. That's so interesting.
Primarily, yeah. He also shoots Face Off. He shoots the 2003 Freaky Friday, which is a pretty good-looking movie. He shoots the 2005 Fantastic Four. He shoots The Bourne Ultimatum, for which he's nominated for a BAFTA. And Wood, sadly, died last year at the age of 80. But left a pretty great career behind him, honestly, plus a lot of sequels. The score is composed by Henry Jackman, who is one of Hans Zimmer's numerous guys.
I did like the score.
He's worked on a lot of movies. Yeah, he's got some weight here. It does feel very Zimmer-ish, but like with a TV budget behind it too, which makes a lot of sense. He composed for Big Hero 6, the animated film, which has a great score, as does Detective Pikachu, which he also works on. He's written for the new Jumanji movies. He works with the Russo brothers on and off. He did Captain America Civil War and The Gray Man for Netflix. And he also scored the video game Uncharted 4.
Okay.
I find it really interesting that at this point in Cruise's career, so many of these artists and writers and composers are also working in video games. It's just a thing that has happened in the last couple episodes of this show, which makes a lot of sense. Kind of that 2012, 2015 period. Yeah. The movie's released October 21st, 2016 in, and I'm not kidding, one of the grimmest box office weekends I have ever seen.
Let's go.
Number 1 at the box office is a new release, Tyler Perry's Boo! A Madea Halloween. Jack Reacher goes in at number 2 with another new release, Ouija Origin of Evil, going in at 3. The Ben Affleck action crime drama The Accountant is number 4. The Girl on the Train is at number 5 and is probably the high point of the whole top 10.
Yeah.
Number 6 is Tim Burton's Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
I remember that one.
A movie that even Tim Burton fans didn't like. And then, do you know the movie Keeping Up with the Joneses? Does that ring any kind of bell at all for you? John Hamm, Gal Gadot, Zach Galifianakis, Isla Fisher, directed by the guy who directed Superbad, a spy comedy, like a big budget spy comedy.
Not really.
It opens that week at number 7 and will ultimately make $30 million worldwide off of a budget of $40 million.
Sure. Okay.
for that film.
Wow.
I probably want to see it because I really like all those actors.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I mean, there is no way it's going to be good. Kevin Hart has a stand-up film at number 8. Storks is in at number 9. And Deepwater Horizon rounds out the top 10. So let's all just maybe stay home that week. Huh? Maybe we don't have to go to the theater at all.
Wow.
Maybe I can put together a game before the very imminent end of this podcast run where we can talk about the various box office weekends that have accompanied the launch of Tom Cruise movies and which are the worst, I think. That could be really fun. Off of a $60 million budget, which is the same as the first movie, Never Go Back makes $162 million worldwide, which is sadly insufficient to motivate a sequel, although, wildly, in 2020, Christopher McQuarrie said in an interview with Empire magazine that they might return to the series. Quote, "The franchise has moved on. We haven't." End quote. Which, Chris, is that what you meant to say?
What a great pitch.
Oh, you want another one just like the first one? Okay, we can do that. Of course, Reacher on Amazon started airing in 2022 and is so
that's
far...
John Krasinski, right? No, I'm wrong every time. Tell me.
I think this is the second time on
I'm
mic
so
that we've
sorry.
had this exact conversation. No, John Krasinski is Jack Ryan.
Yes.
He's the Michael Crichton action guy.
Okay, then I don't know.
This show is 2 seasons, 16 episodes deep, and this guy is built like a brick shit house, quite frankly. Alan Ritchson is his name, and he is huge. He is very much the Jack Reacher of the novels. You know, he is just this imposing physical presence. Yeah, 6'3" he is. So,
okay.
I'll find you some pictures here with his shirt off, and you can really...
I was going to say. Oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah, no one's listening to the Jack Reacher Never Go Back episode, so we're just going to have it's got real last day of school vibes here. You know when your teacher shows you shirtless pictures of actors from Amazon TV shows? Are you interested in the Reacher TV show? It seems like naturally a much more organic fit for this kind of material, right?
Sure, yeah. But as I said before, this kind of serial drama of solve a crime, go punch a guy out is just not for me.
I think there's a version of this because one of the things that I really dislike about this film is the primacy that it gives to police and military police operations, right? It's very much inside of that structure, which is not why you go to Jack Reacher. He's supposed to be this
outside the structure.
Yeah,
anyway.
This lone wanderer guy. He's more like a Western hero. He's more like, those
definitely
shows from the 1970s, The Fall Guy and The Incredible Hulk, right? You solve a mystery, you save someone's life, you move on to the next town. Next week, it's an entirely different story. That's what I want from Jack Reacher. I don't want him embedded the way that he is here, because one of the consequences of that, and I'll be curious to hear what you think about this, one of my real problems with this film is that being embedded in his society, surrounding him with Kobe Smulders, who I think is great, and with the actress playing his daughter, who I think is less great, but honestly acquits herself pretty well.
Yeah.
We'll talk about her in just a moment. One of the problems with anchoring Reacher in this kind of milieu is that he just comes off as an asshole. Yeah. A constant asshole.
Yes.
This is not why I want this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not where he belongs.
That's true to your experience?
I think so too. Yeah,
okay.
I think that's smart.
I will say that there is some beautiful cinematography in this film.
I think so too.
Not
there really is.
Lot,
not a
God
lot
knows,
of it.
Not consistently.
It's all very competent, but occasionally it's lovely.
But occasionally, you're right. It steps up a little bit. And I do think that this opening sequence is visually very impressive. This is where we open on a diner where 4 guys have been beat down in a parking lot by an enigmatic stranger still sitting at the counter, still wearing the same shirt from the first movie. Did you note that?
Oh, I did notice that. It's just a white t-shirt though, isn't it?
I have no idea what the timeline is supposed to be. Yeah, but it's the identical one that he puts on. It's kind of cute and kind of speaks to that Jack Reacher thing of, he doesn't even have any possessions. The sheriff shows up, handcuffs him, and he then predicts the future. The phone's going to ring, the military police are going to show up, and the sheriff will wind up wearing the cuffs. That's what you get for trafficking women. And I kind of like it.
I think it's good. I really liked this opening.
It's a good solid
opening. It's a good right side of history. Good job.
Yeah.
And cracking down on the police themselves who are
absolutely.
Mucked up in all of this. And also I think that the production design here is gorgeous. The motel sign and the diner sign both are just chef kiss good.
Yeah, no, it really, really works. And I love coming in so late on, his previous adventure, right? We just come in right at the end. We're not even tempted to start with the fight scene. We get,
which is great,
instead the aftermath of the action, which is a really strong choice. Yeah, all of this is working for me. And then we basically montage through our reintroduction to his character and our introduction to Susan Turner through these series of phone calls as he does what a drifter does and drifts across middle America. A lot of really gorgeous cinematography through here.
And I like their phone conversations too. They have a nice kind of chemistry together.
It's kind of a better chemistry than they have in the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Which is weird, right?
I mean, it makes a certain amount of sense, I think, that it takes them a while to really warm to each other after they've actually met, especially considering the circumstances under which they meet. But yeah, I really like this opening.
It's part of a thread in this film that you really have to want, I think. But if you are so inclined, you can find a thread in this film that is kind of reflecting on Tom Cruise's persona as a movie star, yes, but also as Jack Reacher. The beat where his daughter calls out, wow, you're really intense.
Yes.
It's like, that's a good moment.
Yeah.
And you can see when he and Turner meet, like half an hour into the film too, which is really strong. When they finally meet, she is doing this reappraisal. She is like, oh, wait, are you maybe better as like a fantasy that I have on the other end of a phone line and not so much a guy who is standing weirdly close to me right now?
Right, sure.
It's I don't know. Do you think there's anything intentional there kind of commenting on Tom Cruise, or is this just that Jack Reacher is supposed to be, you know, an ill-shaped object? He's supposed to be bad at fitting in.
I think both.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why
I
not?
think they're pointing out
both?
the casting, yes.
When he finally makes it all the way to DC, he discovers immediately that she has been arrested on charges of espionage.
Which was a wild turn already.
It's
like
a strong
espionage.
one.
Wow. Okay.
It's, again, we're going to just keep saying this, I guess, really TV.
Yeah.
Like, really TV oriented.
Yes.
He also keeps hitting this thing that he is an ex-major, which is not a thing.
I know.
You do not lose your rank
Yeah.
just because you quit the army.
Which is what they tell him.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, once a major, always a major.
You can keep saying it, but insisting on it 4 times in the first 10 minutes of this movie does not make it true. Also, we should note, he is forcibly re-enlisted in the course of this film so that they can arrest him and take him to Fort Dwyer.
That seems pretty
That
gross.
means that he is now a part of the army again, which means that everything he does in this film, he's doing as an on-duty officer.
Yoinks. Yeah.
It's a thing to think about. Also, he's going to have to go through all that paperwork again.
For real.
Reacher talks with Sergeant Leach, who is super cute. I really like her. I think she's great. She gives him some extra information. Reacher goes to see Colonel Moorcroft, Turner's defense counsel. And if this feels like it's moving fast, it's because it is also paced like a TV show. We're just character beat, scene, dialogue, and then we move on. It turns out that Reacher has also had a kid this whole time, and that her mother contacted the army for child support. There was also a hard drive found in Turner's home, just chock full of secrets. None of this is terribly compelling.
No, yeah. I'm a little bit interested in his response to finding out that he may have had a daughter, especially just because you get that sense that he wished that he had known sooner. And that's interesting.
I find it very difficult to track his emotional arc vis-a-vis his daughter.
Well,
vis-a-vis
it doesn't
this
matter
person who,
because it turns out
I can't even. For the movie to insist so powerfully that this is true.
I don't understand why we did this.
To create this character who not only behaves like Jack Reacher, not only has Jack Reacher powers, but says Jack Reacher things.
Yeah.
Only for, at the end of the movie, it to be revealed that, in fact, no, absolutely no relation between these two people.
And good casting. They both have the same, like, kind of large 2 front teeth. Like, you can see it.
Wild. Why would you do this?
It was such, I would say a slap in the face, but it wasn't even that sharp a shock. It was just, what is it? Just letting all the air out of the balloon. I don't know. It was just rude.
Yeah, a deflationary move is exactly right. But it's a weird place to put a deflationary move right here in our climactic moment of this 2-hour-long film.
Yes,
right?
one of our climactic moments. I feel like we had several climaxes, none of which were all that satisfying.
Emotionally climactic, perhaps. Yes. But it's so weird to do this well enough that it's actually kind of compelling, right?
Yeah.
Because conceptually, like, don't do this. Don't give your lone action hero a damn kid that he has to then, both drag around and follow around for the rest of the movie. That's a bad idea. If you're going to do that, it's very hard to do it well. And I'm going to say, I think this movie does it pretty well. I'll give credit to Danica Yarosh is the girl who plays Samantha. She's only 17 when she shoots this.
Oh, that's impressive.
I think really kind of communicates something. I think she's really quite good in a role that should be absolutely unwatchably bad.
Well, and I could see it working in a kind of like True Grit sort of way.
Interesting.
Like we could have done something special. But instead, we just, never mind, this will never happen again, which makes sense a little bit in like a serial, as that particular book, because this is book 18 or whatever.
Sure.
So now we're going to have a kid in this one, and we'll never see or hear from her again. But if you were actually going to continue making these movies, don't pick that book or change it up and make it actually the kid. You know what I mean?
Bold
It just
strategy.
doesn't make...
Pick one of the books at the beginning. Well, I can only guess that they picked this book because this is the new book. They actually want to tie it into the release. Or if not the release, then at least, you know, a wave of popularity.
And I also appreciate that, you know, they got some memo and was like, oh, there should be women in this maybe. And so he was actually outnumbered by women most of the time, which is cool.
And I would never have guessed that Jack Reacher Never Go Back would continue this trend of him standing next to really strong, really capable women who are, if anything, maybe better suited to this movie than he is.
Yeah.
But that's 3 in a row now. Emily Blunt, Rebecca Ferguson, and now Kobe Smulders. I think that's pretty impressive.
He's into it, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things work out next week as we discuss The Mummy. Stay tuned for that one. We get the scene where he goes to a very branded IHOP. I have never seen an IHOP that says IHOP as often as this IHOP says IHOP. Yeah. It's not fantastic. We introduced the guys
especially
who are...
after that great, weird Nowheresville diner that we had that was so cool.
Which was so good, yeah. But now, this is it. He's back in civilization, right? Everything is branded now. I can't imagine there are a lot of IHOPs in DC. It doesn't feel like... That just feels more Midwestern to me. But yeah, you're right.
But
you're right.
We'll see. Mm-hmm.
This is where the guys are watching him from the car in the parking lot. They have their weird little conversation about, hey, new gun? Yeah, I like it. It's a pretty good gun that I've got, this gun. Weird. Right?
Really weird. Yeah.
Just
lose track of him, just setting it up so that
jump scare so he can punch through the car window.
Through the car window and still deliver a blow that hurts the guy.
Knocks him out.
Knocks the guy out.
Completely.
Insane. This is video game stuff.
It is.
This is crazy.
This is this is Scooby-Doo
actual
happening.
Superhero. Yeah. Wild.
This is where we introduce Parasource, the military contractor who is going to be basically the villain of the piece, though.
Yes.
We never really do as much with that as I would like to. Yeah. Because when you're invoking these ideas of, you know, American militarism abroad and what happens to the weapons that are deployed and the existence of military contractors, right? A thing which ought not to exist at all. Like, it's so weird to think of private companies engaging in this militaristic, quasi-militaristic space, you know, as a tool of the state. That is weird as hell. And setting up this story only for it to be revealed that it's just a cover for drug smuggling.
Yeah.
And it's just this company trying to protect its bottom line. Really strange. Like, kind of misguided. And again, the kind of small scale thinking that you do when you're writing a TV show, and you can't have your entire season thrown out by the scale of this investigation, right? So this is huge and global and world spanning and like super important and significant to like our sense of American identity and American militarism. Except it's not really. We're just gonna... It's just drug smuggling. Which is such a 1970s kind
too,
of...
like opium?
Weird.
It at least made sense of the bad CGI poppy field, which I was like, why are we doing this?
So this is the next beat, is Reacher tracking down his daughter, ostensibly, and following her through the convenience store as she is shoplifting, and she waits for him outside, a very Reacher move. She has the Reacher line, I don't like being followed.
Yeah.
Everything that the movie is telling us is that this is Jack Reacher's daughter. And for it to ultimately not play fair with that
stupid
is bad, right?
Yeah,
is a thing that a movie ought not to do, but really mostly just bewildering. Like, why the fuck not? Why not? You've done all the work. Are you really going to upset the Reacher heads out there, right? The book fans?
Yeah.
Wild. It turns out that 2 of Turner's contacts have been killed abroad, and we get a flashback to see them actually die at the hands of this guy.
Yeah, we get that flashback lots of times.
Yeah, and in the present, he is currently killing Moorcroft as well. This is the character known as...
Lots of killing in this one.
The Hunter, who does not get a real name in the course of this movie.
Oh, I never understood this guy. Like, what's his motivation? Is he just he's a gun for hire? Is this
yes, who also, you know, sometimes wants to fight left-handed just so he can like prove his dominance over Jack. It apparently becomes personal at some point, but this is just real informed. I think this is Patrick Husinger, who really comes to fame in Gossip Girl. He's a big part of Gossip Girl back in the day. He's got a face, that's for sure. Yeah, especially if you see him clean shaven. Oh, he's really got like bone structure. He's got that real leading man quality to him, but wasted potentially in this film. I don't know. He doesn't work for me and never really feels like a physical threat either. Yeah. He's like a little too urbane. He's a little too... Yes. You know, he's kind of the cultured killer.
Yeah.
Which is fine if you're putting that character up against an intellectual opponent.
Sure,
right?
more of a Bond kind of guy.
Or a foil for Sherlock Holmes, or for Johnny Lee Miller as Sherlock Holmes in Elementary on CBS this fall, right? One of those kinds of shows. But Jack Reacher is a blunt object.
Yeah.
And you kind of need to challenge him, I think, with other blunt objects.
Huh.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
The next morning, Reacher is picked up by Aldis Hodge, by Captain Espen, and is taken to meet with Morgan. He has been set up for the murder of Moorcroft. This is where he is forcibly re-enlisted into the army.
Right.
A thing you can just do, I guess.
So that he can be prosecuted.
Arrested, yes.
Yeah.
He gets taken to
Wild.
Fort Dwyer, which we have already established as a space. Also feels really TV.
Mm-hmm.
This is just the other set that we have. So
Yeah.
we're going to shoot the first part here, and then we'll come back to it because that's cheap, right?
Yeah.
This is where we are introduced to Lieutenant Sullivan, previously of Grey's Anatomy, Jessica Stewart,
Yes,
as we mentioned earlier.
She's really not very good.
Yeah, he's led in. We get this weird back and forth, this confrontational thing. He sends her out for a sandwich, and possibly the film's most misogynistic moment.
Right?
Really weird.
An odd one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he kind of trivially rescues Turner and escapes.
Yes.
And Kobe Smulders is great in this sequence. And
She's great.
Nothing else is very good, unfortunately.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you think of the beat where we get it to the parking lot and they feint the escape in the food truck, which sends the military police after the food truck while they themselves just take one of the MP's cars and leave quietly? Does that work?
No. It's fine. Like, I like them going for the food truck, but then the fact that we don't see any of the fake, and that the guy just says they must be in the food truck, and they all just start chasing it.
The door is
no
flapping.
Reason.
I think he sees like the door swinging.
Oh,
so presumably
they
opened the door
okay.
and then hit.
And then ran off.
Yeah. There's a fair amount of this. Yeah, it's just kind of
also like
clever.
All of the cops chasing the food truck and surrounding it, and it never pulled over.
Yeah.
Like, are you guys paying any attention at all?
This is also, you just have a food truck outside a military prison.
Right.
Like
Why?
literally in the parking lot of the military prison. Maybe things are different when you're in the service. This is also the point where they get the radio call. They overhear the radio call from Aldis Hodge putting out this APB on Reacher and on Turner, where he describes Reacher as being in his 40s. As I said, Cruz is 53. And describes Turner as 34, when in real life she is 33, which is still enough justification, apparently, for Reacher to like give her a really look. Like,
so weird.
You
really
think that she doesn't look 30?
Yeah.
I mean, she looks exactly 34?
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
It is weird. Yeah.
Weird moment. Almost as weird as the next plot beat, which is going to an internet cafe. 2016, ladies and gentlemen. Going to an internet cafe.
They're having, God, that's what? Oh,
I mean,
6?
I'm sure they still
maybe
exist.
The last ones?
I'm sure that they are still out there. If you really need one for tourists, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe for tourists,
but
maybe.
Yeah, wild.
That's weird.
Would have made more sense for them to go to like a public library or something rather than an internet cafe. How do you feel about Kobe Smulders running around in uniform through this entire sequence?
I haven't known about it. I was like, you've got to get, I said, get this girl some civvies. Like, she's such a standout. She borrows the hat as though it's going to help.
The ill-fitting hat.
No sense. It does. I'm like, you are wearing camos, my lady. The Mets hat is not going to help you. And then he goes shopping for her and gets her, size is just right. Sure, whatever.
Okay.
And those are the most practical boots you could find, Jack Reacher? Are you sure?
Is he shopping for? Yeah, I don't know. What is this trope of men, particularly like super spies, going out and buying clothes for women and women being impressed that these clothes fit perfectly? Because it is a thing that we have seen multiple times.
It's weird, right? Yeah. First of all, it's kind of gross that somebody has like got your measurements and has been watching you that closely is weird, right? And kind of gross. And then secondly, it doesn't, I mean, this is a real true thing about women's clothing, is that it doesn't matter what the size says. You really do have to try it on because it varies so much from brand to brand. So it's not like a men's, waist where it's like, 34, 32 or whatever. Yeah. It's not that. It's just, here's an arbitrary number. And it's going to be kind of ish.
Here's a
in
medium
this range.
Here in this store for this line.
Yeah.
Actually, it's just this item. It's
so
wild.
Yeah. Even then, it's like just the best guess to my size is not that impressive.
Yeah, right. Yeah, particularly because you're only picking from 3 or 4 choices.
Exactly.
And 2 of those are probably going to be immediately dismissed as impossible. I find it so strange. It's maybe a little bit more impressive, in Casino Royale when it's Bond and he gets the dress for Vesper.
Sure.
Because that is like a couture gown.
Exactly.
That is like a real...
Exactly.
He didn't
That
just
is
go
a good
to
point.
like...
That is different. Yes.
a Forever 21 and
yes.
pick up the first 3 things that he saw.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. They are, of course, immediately tracked to the internet cafe. They sat out, they run across the park, they go into the restaurant, and we have what functions like the most tense and extreme episode of The Bear, where they set up this ambush in the kitchen.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, well, it's as tense as any other episode of The Bear, I guess. But...
She like uses a ladle to block the door. She has high like melee points or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Right?
She's pretty solid here, I think.
Yeah.
I think that she works in this fight scene.
Just like hiding by the door with the meat cleaver.
Yeah.
So upsetting.
With the, the tenderizer, right?
The tenderizer.
It's like,
yeah,
that is
yeah,
a weapon.
That's right.
But then, of course, they're just saved by the intrusion of the regular cops. And
yes.
The hunter, and I'm just going to have to call him that because that's the only name I have, and I kind of resent it every time I have to do it. But the hunter takes a long time to kill these cops that he had clearly already decided to kill.
So weird. And in cold blood, and that was all uncomfortable.
For his whole, I'm a military policeman, my ID's in my pocket, he's doing this whole like stand down, I'm going to put down my weapon, it's this, and then just shoots them both.
Yeah.
So we just wasted some time and set up expectations that were not going to be fulfilled
Yeah.
in any way. It's a weird choice. This is where we get our introduction to Robert Nepper right here. This is General Harkness, the villainous General Harkness.
That's a cool name.
This is right around the time that they are, spending the night in the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
They go to Morgan the next day. I do like this scene, though, again, really TV. Like, we're really reusing our sets that we've already established here. This is where they go to Morgan's house.
Yeah.
Reacher on the phone tricks Morgan into logging into Turner's emails, which is great. Knowing that they're probably not going to get his password out of him, knowing that they can't force him, then he just walks through the door and they get all the information that they need.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty solid, right?
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there any part of you that's interested in any part of the mystery plot of this film?
No.
Or is it just like rushing by you as you move through it?
It's just kind of rushing by me. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard for me to care, I'm afraid. Yeah. Especially since none of it seems to really matter. Like, why are they trying to blame and kill Turner?
They're just wrapping things up. They're just killing everybody and taking everybody out that has any insight into the plan.
But she didn't.
No, she didn't. But her people did. So I think the plot is that they thought that the 2 people who were killed in Afghanistan
might have told her something.
Might have told her what was going on. It's not even like 100% sure that they really knew what was going on. Right?
I don't think that they did.
Yeah,
I think they just got surprised when, suddenly I'm getting shot.
And we get here just a really convenient, out of all of the information that they got from Morgan's computer, they have one name, they have one lead. They don't have to decide what to do next. It's just a real A to B to C plot. They have to go to New Orleans and find a guy called Daniel Prudhomme, which they can't do because they've just discovered that Samantha is also being watched by those goons in that car. They rush to her foster home and find her foster parents dead.
Yeah.
Which is gruesome.
It is.
It's
quite terrible.
It's too much.
Yep.
And I don't think you get to play that card in this film and then not treat it with any kind of emotional weight whatsoever.
None whatsoever. Yep, you're so right.
And the end of this scene is just another demonstration of how much Samantha is Jack Reacher.
Right.
Because she pulled the same trick here with the open window as they pulled with the food truck.
Right.
Like, it's a feint of escape when actually you're still here. Which I kind of like.
I
again, if she turns out to be his kid, this is actually quite
great.
well done.
But since she doesn't, it's so stupid.
It's inexplicable.
Inexplicable.
She's just part of some super secret super soldier program. And hey, I don't know, maybe we'll get a spin-off at some point. It is, I think just too harrowing to have killed these foster parents, right?
Agreed.
Yeah. They take her in a stolen car to New Orleans.
Also, a terrible stolen car. Get like a white sedan.
Did you recognize it?
Is it the same damn truck from War of the Worlds?
It is the same
or van or whatever it is. The panel wagon.
Yeah, it's the same thing as War of the Worlds. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Yeah,
I get it.
Interesting choice though. They go to New Orleans while the hunter goes to Morgan and demands to know what he told Reacher. The hunter then kills Morgan. We're implicating Reacher again. We're setting him up as a murder suspect, despite the fact that we've already done that. And I don't think that the military police are going to chase you more just because you have multiple murders. Right?
I mean, maybe slightly more, but
maybe slightly more.
They're still chasing you.
Well, we really weren't that engaged before.
For coffee.
We were kind of casual about the whole thing. I'm going to say real B team mission to go after Jack Reacher, but now he's killed 2 officers. We really have to get to work. We get this weird zag where we go to the Catholic school where we are going to stash Samantha.
Yes.
Only we can't stash her there because she still has her cell phone.
Right. And
These
she sent
damn
a text.
kids.
Yeah. To whom?
I don't know. I don't know, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't know, and it doesn't matter. But they can track the cell phone.
Yep.
And then she steals this other kid's bag so that she has access to these credit cards because this other kid, who is being apparently nothing but friendly,
kind and sweet,
ought to be taken down a peg or two because her parents are rich.
Yeah. Not her fault.
Let's talk about the politics of Jack Reacher, shall we?
Right? So weird.
What the hell did that girl do?
But I mean, the one thing that we can say is that doesn't hurt that girl at all.
What, you don't know what homework was in that bag? She's definitely going to take a hit to her grade, I think. She's going to have assignments missing. That one pink eraser she's been keeping since like elementary school.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Okay.
But that's the thing, right? The politics are so plain and uninterrogated here that it really kind of it drips into the realm of ideology, right?
Yeah.
We
100%.
take it as read that wealthy people are evil and deserve their comeuppance.
Yeah.
Which is maybe the most 2016 thing about this entire movie.
Ooh, interesting. Mm-hmm.
I really find that just the fact that it is not for a second interrogated. This girl is not, a mean girl.
No.
They could have made her a mean girl.
They could have.
And they specifically chose not to.
So weird.
Because we don't have to, because her parents are wealthy and that makes her a bad person.
Yeah. Or at least someone
Wild.
who, should have her credit card stolen and
Yeah.
get something good that somebody else needs and couldn't get on their own. I don't
Exactly
know.
right. Exactly right.
And if that thing is a plane ticket, I guess, that you only need one ID for?
Multiple
only
plane
one
tickets.
person needs an ID
Yeah. Well, I guess
to get on the plane.
I guess we can speculate. She buys the plane tickets with. You're right. We're just assuming that Jack Reacher is the only one being chased here because we don't talk about Turner getting an ID or Samantha getting an ID. Presumably, they just use their regular driver's licenses or whatever.
I guess.
But yeah, we have this this moment where Reacher, casually steals the wallet of a guy. No kidding, 30 years younger than Tom Cruise.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
I do like that when he gets to the TSA gate, he kind of makes a face at the TSA guard, which is that guard, by the way, that's Lee Child. That's the author of the book series. That's
cool.
his little
Sure.
his little cameo. Yeah,
Sure. Cute.
It's cute enough. Not really believable, but cute enough. And then we're on our way to New Orleans. The flight goes off without a hitch until Reacher identifies a suspicious haircut and just murks this contractor who's also on the plane.
Yeah.
I guess we're
2 really stealthy hits that he does on the plane. How does nobody notice this kind of violence on such a small, quiet aircraft?
Exactly it. Like, we are in comedy spy territory.
It's weird.
Now, this is we've lost any kind of realism.
Yeah.
This is a plane in 2016, you guys, in the United States. You can't get away with shit like that. There's an air marshal on that flight. There definitely is. Reacher leads Turner and Samantha in a chase out of the airport, which is, again, kind of anticlimactic, I suppose. I thought for a minute we were doing the same fate again. I thought the beat was that they had suggested, they had led the hunter to believe that they had left the airport when in fact they had not left the airport, but our next cut is just to them at the hotel. So I don't know.
Yeah, it was around this time that I got up and made a snack. I was still watching. The TV was on and we have an open concept living room.
You are absorbing as much of the plot if you are making a snack than you are if you are watching this film.
I think so.
I don't think it demands that much of you. I really don't. You just took your own commercial break. That's what happened.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little about this hotel because it is too nice. It is too swanky. Yeah. It is too expensive. Mm-hmm. It is $350 a night, which they don't have that much cash, and these credit cards are going to be tracked eventually. In fact, the tracking of the credit cards
said that
is a
she was
plot
going
point.
to pay for the room in cash, and she did. So she apparently just had $1,000 on her.
I don't know how many nights. I guess we're maybe only there 2 nights.
Still,
I mean, a lot of free floating cash.
13% hotel tax or whatever.
Right. Exactly right. So the hotel does not fit the story very well.
No,
but it is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It's a real
the
New
balconies,
Orleans moment,
and that's very New Orleans. Yeah.
It's interesting that they shoot this in Louisiana. They shoot this primarily at Baton Rouge. They actually shoot this largely where they shot Oblivion. 2 very different
movies in style.
And when we use New Orleans for real, we don't really make the most of it. Right? It's so much wasted potential.
Yeah. Yeah. It should be way, sexier and seedier and scarier and more beautiful. It should be it should be elevated so much.
But you can't make it all of those things if this is network TV, which is what this
but it's
deliberately
not really.
No, but someone is making these choices to make it deliberately feel like network TV. Zwick is worried about his career at this point.
Maybe you think he's trying
I
to
described
be
it as a safety play. He comes up through TV. He knows TV. TV makes his name before he moves into movies.
Could be.
Yeah. It's baffling, absolutely baffling. This is where Reacher tells Samantha that he might, in fact, be her dad, which just, I guess, puts her in more danger.
Yeah.
Reacher and Turner flirt about their dinner date, and then this sours so fast because it just turns into this pissy little fight about which one should go and find Prudhomme. Like, none of the characterization is working here, except Jack Reacher really comes off as a
at
jerk.
this point. Yeah, totally.
He gets the picture.
She's great.
He gets the picture of Prudhomme from his wife, and then he has a fight in a warehouse with some goons, has a standoff with the hunter, goes back to the hotel so that we can do another round with Turner. Then Samantha slips out in the middle of the night, only to come back in the morning, having figured out where
I solved the mystery
Prudhomme
for you, Dad.
Oh, yeah, I went walking the streets in the middle of the night and found out where all the drug-addicted vets go to.
Yeah, but it's fine because I just picked the strong alpha man because the alpha men all have little sisters or want a little sister.
We're both just making faces at each other.
What?
It is the wildest. Like, I get what you're doing. I understand.
Assertion.
You are demonstrating that Samantha has the ability to read people
do
and understand them
smarts
just the way that Jack Reacher does. Maybe they're related, you guys.
Except they're not. And
that is such a crazy assertion.
Yeah.
The strong guys never hurt you. It's always the weak guys.
Yeah.
Like,
ew. What a gross, what a male written line.
Right? Really
deeply uncomfortable.
Deeply uncomfortable. Genuinely disgusting. Yes. And the whole thing of having her sneak out in the middle of the night so we can do 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds, 15 seconds of panic in the morning for her to come back in and just deliver this unnecessary information. Like, does not really work.
Nope.
Reacher and Turner, having argued so passionately about which one of them should go to Prudhomme, both go to Prudhomme. Why wouldn't you do that? They find out that Parasaurs are selling off the weapons thought accounted for by the army. Mm-hmm. Prudhomme witnessed the hunter killing Turner's people. We flash back to that again. Turner does some fantastic back-of-the-envelope math to figure out that a military transport bearing these weapons is definitely arriving in this town tonight at 10 p.m.
Sure.
Nobody questions it. Nobody looks at it. Let's not test this at all. Yeah, you're right. That makes a lot of sense. Now you say it out loud with that kind of confidence and authority. Absolutely. They contact Espen and arrange a meeting so that he can bring Prudhomme in and protect him as a witness. This I actually really like, because this shows a real care for this man that they are nonetheless putting in danger and will shortly
who will
get
die.
killed. But it does, like, ostensibly at least they are taking care of this guy.
Yes.
Is this the best film ever?
No.
The gunfight here, I think, is actually pretty solid. The brutality of whatever guns these guys have.
Yeah.
They're firing in a way that does not feel like, firearms in movies.
Yeah. It does not feel safe or harmless.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And even, puncturing the tire on the car and like really damaging the bodywork. There's a real physicality to it that you don't normally get. You don't get in the rest of this film, honestly, when people are firing guns.
It's not just sparks flying.
Yeah, but that one scene really effective, I thought. And I like Reacher and Turner both kind of coming to the rescue and helping Espen and kind of bringing him into the team, which is, again,
it's cute.
This is the pilot episode of your long-running show, right? This is really setting up these team dynamics going forward. They rush to the airport to get to the military transit. They find the weapons on board. Turns out that the weapons are actually there and not that they have been sold overseas to insurrectionists.
Yeah, this is a nice moment for Smulders again, where she's doing the open the boxes.
I
And
really
you see
like
her getting more and more nervous that she's wrong. But then they just give it to Reacher. He's like, actually, I solved the whole problem with my brain parts. Move over, lady.
How did he solve this? The math doesn't make sense. And this is how the math makes sense. Is literally if these weapons are loaded full of drugs.
The guy said
lunatic.
poppy fields. We were driving through the poppy fields.
Sure.
And I think that was supposed to, I don't,
No, that's literally all that there is.
Must be opium
but it's
in them there
bit
hills.
Of a swing.
I don't even know.
But you're absolutely right. It does feel like the end of the procedural version of this story.
Yeah.
Right? There's a moment of like, fear. Have we got this wrong? Have we made a mistake? Have we overplayed our hand? Are they going to get away with whatever it is that they are trying to get away? Oh, no, actually we did it. We solved the mystery. It's right here. It's a huge pile of these little baggies of opium. Did you see that?
I did.
It is so much.
So much opium.
There's no way that's not going to I don't know what opium goes for or even how much opium you buy.
I don't even know how you
use
use it. Is it a thing you smoke?
I think maybe.
Eat?
You mix it with brandy to make laudanum, right? If you are a Victorian gentleman,
yes,
that's
I was
certainly
going
how
to
you
say.
take it. That's the
And I
second
think
part
in
of
Amy
Robert
Tam's-
Knepper's plan, is that they go back in time and sell it to Victorian gentlemen
Right.
for a penny an ounce,
Oh
Governor.
my God. Yeah, I think in Joy Luck Club, somebody eats cakes filled with opium to
Oh, sure.
commit suicide, basically.
Oh, well, that
Or maybe she was just trying and had too many. I don't know. Anyway.
sounds like a delicious snack, for sure. But then we get, you're right, our second action climax here. And this is just too long. And
Mhm.
wherever they shot this looks insufficiently like New Orleans. I mean, it's mostly stage sets, for sure. It's mostly sound stages.
Yeah.
The hunter chases Sam out into the streets of New Orleans. We do get a couple of nice shots here. I'll commend there. And Reacher sets out after them, of course.
This is also so dumb because she's got all this long flowing blonde hair and she doesn't
Put on a hoodie.
put on a hoodie.
You know these kids in their hoodies?
There are wigs everywhere.
absolutely.
It's a parade in New Orleans. I don't know. Anyway,
What do you
I
think
thought she was
about-
smart.
What do you think about Susan Turner 100% straight up strangling a dude with a garden hose?
Oh my God. Just wow.
That is an unnecessarily long... I don't need to see the light leave this man's eyes. This is not the movie
Otherwise,
that you
how
think
will
you're
you know
making.
how strong she is?
Crazy moment. Well,
Really
it doesn't matter
weird.
because then she's going to disappear for the rest of the
Yeah.
climax. She just has to be busy doing this so that Reacher can be Reacher.
Yeah.
We get the rooftop standoff there as the hunter is holding Sam out. She gets to use the one move that Kobe Smulders taught her in the hotel room.
Hotel.
It's just so A to B to C. It's such
You knew
a
it was gonna
linear
happen.
plot,
Yes.
which is, to be commended. Again, if this is television, this is actually pretty good writing because it is efficient. It is muscular. It is effective. You can carry people along with you. They don't even need to watch the middle third of the story.
Yeah.
They can get up and make a snack, as some people chose to do when they were supposed to be at work writing notes on a film. I don't know. Again, for TV, this is...
Yeah.
It's not good, but it's fine. It's functional. But in a real life movie that you guys spent $60 million making,
Yeah.
where did that money go? I can only assume Cruise. No one else in this
paychecks.
movie is getting a paycheck. No one else in this movie
Not
is
of
making
that size.
multiple
Yeah.
millions
No,
of
no, no,
dollars
no.
for this film.
That's true.
I have no idea. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that Kobe Smulders
Sure.
got a beach house for making this film because
Yeah.
God knows she deserves it. They all live happily ever after. From that point, Turner is reinstated. Reacher promises to stay in touch. Then he goes to meet with Sam. And we get this weird beat in another great diner, right? Not an
Another
IHOP,
great diner.
a really genuinely great diner, where it just turns out that Sam is not his daughter because his waitress is Sam's mom and he didn't recognize her
And she didn't recognize him, which means what? Did she just pick a name at random to sue for paternity?
I have no idea.
That doesn't make
I
any
have no
goddamn
idea.
sense.
It's crazy. I don't know what you want to do. Yeah. It's wild. And that's the end of the film. But the wildest thing really is that they actually did such a good job of setting up this relationship. I don't want it. But if you're going to do the
did a
legwork,
great job, and
then
then
just have it be
pissed
the
it away.
It's fine. Come up with some other solution so that Jack Reacher can still continue to go on adventures. Like the fact that he is now technically AWOL from the United States Army.
Sure,
having
right?
been forcibly re-enlisted. You've got juice. You can use it. You don't have to reset to one again. It's
weird.
so weird. And then he, hitches off into the great beyond. And that's the end of Jack Reacher as a film franchise. We're done now at this point. Killed it. Stone dead. And here's the thing. I've had a lot of fun discussing this film with you. I think this film is completely adequate. It's real hard to have a strong opinion about.
Yeah.
I don't completely understand it killing the franchise, given that it made, almost 2.5 times its budget back.
Right, yeah.
I think that's something. But more than that, I think it's maybe just Tom Cruise's production schedule, right? You can't fit that many other films around Mission Impossible, which is a $1 billion franchise. So maybe there's just no space for him to make something like this.
He must have already at least been thinking about Maverick at this point, right? You said 2016?
2016. Yeah, we're getting close because that was...
Right?
No, maybe not. Maybe not quite.
Maverick
but
was what, 2019? Because that got
2019,
held back by the pandemic?
Yeah, 2019 shoots. Yeah.
So maybe.
Maybe it was on the horizon for sure. But certainly he's definitely thinking about, the huge success of Rogue Nation that came out
at this
3
point,
months before he starts making
he's
this
like,
film.
wait, this is not my bread and
He's
butter.
looking at his bank account and watching that number just tick up and up and up. I'm wondering why he's in Louisiana with Kobe Smulders. What better place to be than Louisiana with Kobe Smulders? Elizabeth, where would you like to put this on our big list of every Tom Cruise movie ever? I have a pitch for you.
Okay.
I've kind of gone down the list here. I have a problem, right? Which is I think that this movie slots in at number 27.
20. I was going to say around Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder,
yeah.
right? Now
right
look
around there.
Now look above Days of Thunder.
Right above Days of Thunder is Mission Impossible 2.
Is this film really worse than Mission Impossible 2? Is that what we're saying?
Okay.
Like
Here's
Mission
the thing
Impossible...
about Mission Impossible 2.
Okay.
Like, it is dumb.
It is.
But it has some, like, it swings for the fences and does, like,
does
interesting, weird, like, the pigeons and the scarf. And it has, like, some iconic moments for me.
It is an outrageous
in a way that
disaster.
This movie is completely forgettable. You know?
Days of Thunder, I think, is the closest comp. It's a film that I just can't really have an opinion about.
Exactly.
That's also resolutely A to B to C.
Yeah,
right? You can watch the trailer
and have some nice moments of cinematography and have some interesting,
some nice character
moments. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I think
adequate.
Days of Thunder is exactly where it goes. Right.
Then is this above or below Days of Thunder? This is the important thing. Is it 27 or 28 on
what's
the
right
list?
That Risky Business, which is also a little bit on the boring side. Yeah. Let's put it below Days of Thunder. Only because, again, there's some like iconographic images that are coming to my head right now that will not come to me when I think about Jack Reacher 2 a year from now.
And Days of Thunder is a Tom Cruise movie in a way that Jack Reacher is not a Tom Cruise movie.
Sure.
You know, it's very much him in his element. You know, everyone thinks that I'm wrong, but I'm actually right and better at this than everyone. Like, that's kind of what we're doing. Yeah.
And Nicole Kidman.
Just, a higher quality of ensemble cast for sure.
Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall is exactly who I was thinking of, yes. So it goes in at number 28, right under Days of Thunder, right above Risky Business, but with no malice in our hearts.
No.
We're never going to think of this film again.
Think about you again.
I'm going to talk to you in 2 days about, hey, remember Jack Reacher, Never Go Back? And you will look at me blankly. Like I am speaking French. That is going to do it for this week's episode of The Last Star in Hollywood. The Last Star in Hollywood, episode 39.
We're getting there.
Really getting down to it. Now, Elizabeth, would you like to thank the wonderful people who pledge their support, who buy us hotel rooms in New Orleans and pay cash so that we can do this wonderful show?
You know I would. Thank you, Leslie Skipa and Louise in Dallas, Megan Lauder, Phoebe, Art Kilmer, Kimberly Bear, Self on a Shelf, Jolene Stark, Chris Dawns, and the Lady Gordon.
Next week, we have got a fun one. Never Go Back may have killed a franchise, but in 2017, Tom Cruise will go one step further and kill a franchise before it has even begun. Alex Kurtzman's journey into Universal Studios' dark universe with The Mummy.
Oh, man.
Next week.
Let's go.
I really can't wait to talk about.
It's giving like spooky season in a way. This is what happens. It gets to August and I am fucking over summertime. So I think I'm just going to lean into like, I'll put on the weird orange lights and you know what I mean? And have like, I don't know, caramel popcorn and cocoa or something and watch this movie.
Honestly, we'll watch a terrible. No, I'm here for Halloween in August.
Right.
Let's do it. We hope you all will join us in your respective houses. We'll be back next week with that and for really the start of the end run here. 5 movies left here on The Last Star in Hollywood. Oh, also, if you have not yet pledged your support over at patreon.com/nextword, then you should, because we recently posted our bonus episode on Brad Bird's The Incredibles. That was a really fun discussion of, a really rich and interesting movie. If you want a conversation that is a little more politically inclined, a little more philosophically inclined than our discussion of the hollow object that is Jack Reacher Never Go Back, then head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/nextword. We'll be back next week with The Mummy. Until then, take care.
We'll see you next time. I'm Elizabeth Ray.
I'm Alistair Stevens.
And Tom Cruise is Jack, no middle name, Reacher. Don't go back, never say die, never say go back again. What's this movie called?
Perfect, that's our intro. And